we are talking a little bit more about RCA today, recycled concrete aggregate, girl. And we are going to be looking at some of the pros and cons for using it.
Yes.
So pros.
Recycling. Huge.
Recycling, totally.
Yes.
You get LEED credits. You're actually using concrete slabs rather than throwing them in a stockpile or a landfill. Like, you're actually using something that just would be sitting around, obviously not going to break down. It's concrete. So.
Yeah, and furthermore, not only are you reusing what's already been used, but you're not destroying Earth to get more.
Totally.
So it's a win-win there.
Oh, absolutely. Patchouli was just telling us about, and I'm sure all of you have seen, you'll drive through some parts of, less populated areas, and there's, chunks of mountains that are just completely gone. So
ground up
in
your concrete.
Right, in your driveway maybe. So one of the other great things too about using RCA, a lot of the high quality virgin aggregate, the less reactive stuff, is in those pavements that are being ripped up and replaced just because they're old. So you're taking advantage of those natural resources that we already use. So you can also save money doing it. Not always. Sometimes it's going to cost the same or even a little bit more. But it is there. It's readily available. If you know how to use it, it's easy to use. You've got absorption, which some people would call it a con, but you could also look at it as a pro, because there's things you can do to take advantage of that absorption and make your concrete stronger, using admixtures in the beginning to try to help with seeding sites and those sorts of things. So
just understanding how to test it so you can work around it and use it as your benefit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cons.
Oh, let's see. Well, you don't always know what you're getting exactly, so the variable in it. But again, as long as you're testing it beforehand.
And that's the biggest thing. I mean, there's such a huge process in testing. You really should test, like, get pores out of the pavements. So you're going to do testing on that concrete. Then once you grind it up, there's a list. I mean, you can find standard operating procedures. People have been using RCA for decades. So it's not like you're the first. It's not like it's this hugely new and innovative idea. It's been done for a long time, but you need to know how to treat it.
Yeah. So now, is that something when you pick it up at the manufacturers who have already done the grinding, do they have core samples that they've kept that you can take for testing? That's not necessarily a requirement, though.
If you're buying it from somebody who actually specializes in RCA, and there are some companies who actually sell RCA, they should
have tested.
Have already done all of those tests. So it's very much like buying virgin aggregate or buying natural aggregate. So they should have done all of the footwork. Oftentimes, though, in airports, more and more are starting to use RCA in their pavements. They will process right on site. And one of the problems with that is you've got concrete contractors and ready-mix providers who are not aggregate people, who have to learn how to do the testing and the processing so that they know what they're getting. There's all this background work that aggregate companies do that we don't even know about, because we just were like, hey, I need some river rock or I need some crushed rock, and they bring it. So there's a whole process, and I think that's one of the biggest cons, or at least one of the biggest hurdles for people to overcome, is figuring out a process and a method to make sure you know what you're getting and you know what you're putting in your concrete. So it has to be tested, has to be organized, has to be cleaned. I mean, just the fines alone can cause so many issues for your mix. The absorption is already high for RCA, and if you're not taking those fines out, it can be just a complete nightmare to work with.
Sure.
So
lots of unknowns, but it can also be great stuff.
Oh, it absolutely can. And then again, you're doing your part to try to keep the world as green as it can be. You're not continuing to take down mountains, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I get there's a need for construction, there's a need to use these natural resources, but as architects and engineers, it's our responsibility to try to come up with innovative solutions for those sorts of things. And if we can take advantage of stuff that's just sitting around, like, why not?
Right.
So
why not save the earth and save the landfill?
Oh, absolutely. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining. If you have any concrete comments or questions,
Below.
please leave them in the links below. Like, subscribe, hit that bell for daily notifications to improve your concrete knowledge. Yeah, go concrete.
Beat asphalt.